focusing on leadership development, training, coaching, and organizational development. And I've been doing a lot of thinking lately about where we are right now in the business world and what we need to be focused on. And I realize, 2020 has impacted all of us. And maybe we need to be thinking about building our businesses in a little bit of a different way. And I really came to the conclusion that what we need to be thinking about now for our companies is how to create caring organizations. And so that's what I'm going to talk to you guys about today. I did a webinar recently about this topic, and so I thought I'd share some of that with you today, while at the same time telling you a little bit about me. So my experience, let's see if I can get this to work. There we go. I have had the privilege of helping hundreds of people and organizations to achieve high quality results over the past 25 plus years. I began my career as a therapist, actually, and I was providing employee assistance program services for a lot of the large companies in the region, for the county, for the school district, the hospital. And I was really kind of appalled. I mean, we're talking years ago, right? A couple decades ago, but I was really appalled at this literal suffering that was being caused by some of the work environments that my clients were having to function in. They were suffering from depression, from anxiety, from physical ailments. They were getting divorced, having tons of family problems. So I closed my private practice for a variety of different really good reasons. But after that, I spent a lot of years working in other organizations. My passion has always really been to help make other people's lives better. And in that experience, in those experiences, I was able to build successful cultures in organizations that had little or no turnover while they grew exponentially. I've worked in the for-profit environment, nonprofit environment, for a foundation, in the government sector. So I've had a wide range of experiences, and I like to say I've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly of leadership in a variety of different formats. So about 5 years ago, when I was working for a particularly difficult boss, I started blogging about how to be a better leader. And I realized that there are a lot of people who really struggle or have never had any training on how to be a leader and could benefit from some training and coaching. And that's how Yellow Wagon came to be. And since then, I've had the opportunity to work with a variety of different companies to improve their culture through improved leadership. So why a caring organization? Trends have been changing for some time now, but if 2020 reinforced anything in our business, it's that people are human beings, right? I mean, this year has been a struggle for everybody. I mean, do we even need to talk about all the stresses that we've experienced? The environment, COVID, racial tensions, the election. The stress has been really palpable, I feel like, in our families and in our businesses and really in our entire community. And I feel like there could literally not be a better time to talk about caring organizations. And I really feel like people are struggling like never before. And we need our people more than ever before. And I feel like we need to learn how to care about our people more than ever before. And frankly, I feel like people expect more from their employers than ever before. We expect our employers to care about our health and safety. We expect that our employers care about the stress that our families are struggling under right now and being able to balance those work and life stresses. I feel like employees expect that when they have a problem, that someone's going to care, that someone's going to be responsive, and that they're not going to get just shuttled off to HR for a pat on the head and maybe a black mark in their, employee file. I feel like employees expect, to not get more work squeezed out of them by being asked to do more and more with fewer people and resources. I feel like they expect to be treated honestly and with respect, and to feel emotionally safe at work. And to me, that all kind of sums up in that I think that we expect our employers to care about us and our well-being. And one thing that I know is that when employers don't care about their people, and these are some of the people that I work with, employees get really hurt, they get angry, and this creates a situation of really bad feelings. People get so upset, and that creates conflict and it creates tension in the workplace. And that really, really impacts employee engagement, and it takes energy away from the work. And what I believe is that people start to care more about not being cared about than they care about the work. It also impacts your customer relations. I mean, let's face it, an angry or a hurt or upset employee isn't going to be great at customer service. So so I really started thinking about this, and like, what does it mean to be a caring organization? First, let's talk about how we got here. Why is this concept of caring so new in our workplaces? So, little history. After the Industrial Revolution, we got mass manufacturing. And during that time, industrial scientists started working to find ways to enhance the productivity of every single worker. And they broke down the tasks that needed to be done into each of its component parts, right? And they had workers specialize in just doing one motion or one piece of the manufacturing process. And honestly, this was done so that the owners could make more product and, frankly, of course, more money. But this approach, which was considered scientific, really worked to remove any variability in the process, which minimized the human element of every worker, basically turning people into machines. And they took for granted that workers would submit to that kind of standardization. It totally ignored human feelings and motivations. It basically took emotions out of the workplace. And really, ever since then, people have been trying to bring back emotions into the workplace. So a little bit more about that in a minute. I want to tell you about this this story that I heard on NPR. So recently I was out running errands with my husband, and there was a segment on NPR talking about the situation at Goya. No, not the political situation at Goya. This was before that. They had a former employee on as a guest, and he talked about how when he worked there for the first few years, things were really, really good. They had company picnics, they had fun activities, management knew everybody and their families, and they treated employees like family. They even had La Gran Familia painted in big blue letters in the warehouse. And he said it really felt like family. But then new management came in, and instead of focusing on employees feeling like one big family, the new managers were focused on the bottom line. And according to this employee, they cut budgets, they cut staff, they lengthened shifts, they even cut the budget for cleaning out the warehouse, which meant that they had rats that were infesting the warehouse, which was terrible. And the employees went to management and were asking for changes, and nothing happened. They went on strike, nothing happened. And ultimately, this person got fired. But what struck me during this interview was that the employee said they just didn't care. And that just hit me. Like, instead of happy employees loving their jobs and telling everybody what a great place it was to work, they had former employees on NPR talking about what a terrible experience it was. Now, this may be an extreme example, but it's not the only example. I see companies all the time, both large and small, who have employees that complain publicly about their employers, that they're cheap, that they're rigid, that they expect loyalty, but they don't give it, all kinds of different complaints. And And I believe that if people are saying these things publicly, I can't even imagine what they're saying privately. So that's an example of employers just not caring. But what does caring look like? I've really been thinking about this. And, honestly, we've had to pivot. We've had to make so many changes in our businesses. We've had to think really deeply about what our employees need from us right now. And what they really need is for us to care. To me, caring means that you want what's best for your people, that you don't do things that are going to hurt people. To me, caring means that the company cares as much about the people as the bottom line. It means respecting your people enough to want them to be healthy, providing a healthy work environment with, safety gear, health insurance, OSHA guidelines, all that kind of stuff. It means that you don't want people to struggle financially. So you pay them a decent wage that's going to provide them and their families some stability. I know one gal who didn't get a raise for 3 years, and she ended up having to move 3 times during 1 year because she kept getting priced out of her apartments. And so the stress of constantly moving, constantly getting her kids in new places, new schools, all of that, she was completely stressed at work. If you care about your people, you're not going to want them to have to experience that, right? To me, caring means that you build your team up rather than tear them down, and you provide opportunities for them to grow. You talk to them in positive ways. You provide clear and consistent messaging. It encompasses a lot of different things. But it's so important to be thinking about what your employees need. Now, to me, caring doesn't mean that you make every single person happy all the time, because that's impossible. But in my experience, caring means that you do the best you can by your people, as opposed to, what's best for your bottom line, or as opposed to what we talked about with the Goya example. And it's really creating an environment where people can do their best work, which is actually what can help your business succeed. So I've had a lot of employers say, yeah, but I have to make a living. My margins are so thin. Business is down. Won't this cost a lot of money? A lot of employers believe that caring is the polar opposite of profitability. And lots of employers want to put their people first, but they're worried that it's going to negatively impact their bottom line, that it has to be one or the other, that you can't do both. And in thinking about this, we know that when people don't feel cared about, they become less and less engaged in the work and in the company, right? And when people don't feel cared about, they literally quit caring. It's increasingly clear that unengaged employees are a drag on productivity, on innovation, and on the bottom line. In fact, they cost US companies up to $500 billion every year. That's incredible to me. Truly caring for your people increases employee engagement, which actually improves the bottom line. Highly engaged teams show a 21% greater profitability. And the most successful organizations, that this is from Gallup, that they studied, made employee engagement central to their company strategy. And those teams that score in the top 20% of engagement have a 41% reduction in absenteeism and 59% less turnover. And we all know that absenteeism and turnover costs everyone a lot of money. Engaged employees show up every day with passion, with purpose, with presence, and with energy. And research shows that employees expect their employers to care. Employees who feel like their voice is heard are 4.5 times more likely to feel empowered to do their best work. This is interesting. 96% of employees believe that showing empathy is an important way to, excuse me, advance employee retention. Excuse me. While 92% of CEOs said that their organizations were empathetic, only 50% of employees said that their CEO was empathetic. So there's a real disconnect there. And finally, 87% of employees expect their employer to support them in balancing work and life. So, the studies show us that when we care about employees, they're going to help us succeed in our companies. So what makes a caring organization? We need learning organizations. We need efficient organizations. We need a lot of other types of organizations, but none of those are going to work if we don't have a caring organization. And in all of my experience, these are the three main principles of a caring organization. And if a company applies these principles, they're going to create an amazing business culture that'll make them proud and help them succeed. It would make a huge difference. They'll dramatically reduce turnover. They'll increase employee retention. People will want to work for them. They're going to be productive. People are going to want to do business with you if you have a company like this. It's amazing. Plus, you don't have the kinds of personnel issues that drive leaders crazy. But the thing is, you can't just act like you care. You can't put a Band-Aid on it. You have to actually care. But isn't this what we all want anyway, really? So let's talk briefly about each of these three components. So from my perspective, a caring organization really begins with clarity. Caring organizations are clear about their mission, their vision, and communicate them regularly to prevents confusion and keeps everyone moving in the same direction. They're also clear about their organizational values and how they want to see them applied so that people know what's expected of them every day at work. They're clear about how they handle disagreements and difficult behaviors so that people have an avenue for resolving differences and expectations. They're clear about how and why they promote people and give raises to prevent hurt feelings and unrealistic expectations. One company I worked with gave raises, it seemed like randomly, or whenever the CEO felt like it, and employees felt really hurt. They felt really angry, like we don't know what we're supposed to do to get a raise, and it felt very unfair. Companies that care have really clear policies and procedures so that people know what to expect and how to get things done within the organization. And they have clear job descriptions of jobs that people would actually want to do. They're clear about hiring practices so that people understand what the company is looking for. Like, if a company has like a friends and family hiring policy, that usually leads to people with too many relationships in the organization and too little skill. And it impacts the people who are already working there. And finally, they have clear and measurable goals for their organization and for their people so that there's a clear process outlined for holding people accountable. And so that everybody's pulling on an oar and no one's slacking. Caring organizations really provide people with clear expectations and communication. It prevents confusion, conflict, hurt feelings, unrealistic assumptions. It provides clear guidelines about how to really successfully work at your organization and gives people something to rely on and expect. And that's really important. This provides the kind of stability that people need at work. So let's talk about empathy. When paired with empathy, caring companies create clear policies, procedures, structures, and processes with the best interests of their people in mind. They adopt policies and structures that show that they care, as opposed to that people are taken for granted, or worse, that they're simply a tool to be used to make a profit. And as I mentioned earlier, over the past 150 years or so, we've really tried to keep emotions out of the workplace. But of course, we know we can't, because we're people, and people are emotional beings, right? And we feel what we feel, and the things that happen every day impact us. So, like when we have an important presentation, we feel nervous. When we have a disagreement about an issue, we feel frustrated. When someone tells us we're appreciated, we feel really happy and proud. Or when we feel put down, we feel embarrassed or ashamed. Emotions are a part of every day. It's not human nature to simply turn off our emotions when we walk into work. So to be a caring organization, I believe it requires empathy. There's a lot of misunderstanding about what empathy is, but I like Brene Brown's definition that empathy is connecting with the emotions that underpin an experience. It's connecting with the emotions of your people and recognizing what they want and what they need so they can do their best work. Why is this so critical? Because until you truly understand the emotions that a person is experiencing, you won't be able to create a workplace that engenders the kind of loyalty that a successful business requires. For example, you could implement a sick leave policy, right? How will people feel about it? You could implement a policy that leaves people frustrated and angry, or you could implement a policy that makes people believe that you actually care about them and their health. And as you consider what policy to put into place, having empathy for your people is going to help you understand how they're going to likely react to the plan that you choose. Or maybe another example, you're making a decision to move your company to a new office. Empathy is understanding how the people on your team are going to feel about your various options. Is this going to be a positive move for some? Probably a negative move for others. And so how are you going to know unless you can connect with those emotions that underpin that experience? Another example is that if you have empathy, you're going to recognize how someone feels when they weren't the person that got promoted, right? And you can reach out to them and you can help them understand the situation and help them to know that they are valued. But it's hard to do that unless you can put yourself in their shoes. With empathy, as manager, or if you're the director of a department, you're going to do what you can to develop a positive team experience. Or as a manager, you'll recognize the work environment that you create for your team. I talked to one guy who actually quit a really good high-paying job. Well, a high-paying job, it wasn't that great, because his manager would give them really tough, complicated assignments and tell them they had to have it done in like 2 days, which constantly. Can you guys hear me? Is everything okay? My internet's a little.
Yeah, we can hear you, Mary.
Okay.
I turned your video off, but we can still
Okay.
see your presentation. I'm just going to try to up some bandwidth.
Okay, great. Thank you. Anyway, this guy, he talked about how he quit because the manager would give them such unrealistic assignments and they couldn't accomplish them. It was totally burning them out. And that manager didn't have the empathy to understand the kind of work environment that she was creating for her team. So it's really understanding what your people are experiencing as they work for you. It's the key to a caring organization. With empathy, you understand the feelings that are underlying their work and what it feels like to work there, and how your decisions are going to impact your team as a whole. Because when people's feelings are attended to in a caring and productive way, then your people are freed up to care about their work. They're going to feel respected and recognized and cared about. And that's super important. So let's talk about the last one, which is trust. I really believe that trust is the connecting link between empathy and clarity. It's how you actually show up. It's how you actually show you care. Trust is present when you actually do what you say you're going to do as an employer, when you follow through on your policies, and when you apply them equally. And to me, trust is the key component for a caring organization. And this seems really simple, but clearly it isn't, because so many workers are miserable and feel betrayed by their employers. In fact, according to a survey by PricewaterhouseCoopers, 55% of their participants believe that the lack of trust in their workplace posed a fundamental threat to their company, which is crazy. But it is what it is. Trust is the basis for all relationships. And when trust is broken, people feel hurt and betrayed and angry. When trust doesn't exist, people go into protection mode. They look over their shoulders, wondering when the next betrayal is going to happen. And they withdraw the positive energy and enthusiasm they might have had and go into self-protection. They quit caring, and quality and productivity declines. But when trust does exist, people are going to move mountains for you. It's remarkable. But this is a warning. Programs can't replace caring. And I know a lot of companies who have volunteer programs and sustainability programs and other kinds of policies or perks that show how much they care, but people still feel terrible working there. They don't feel cared about in the least. So participating in these programs really just creates tension and anxiety. One person I talked to told me that as she was anticipating their company's volunteer day, she was so stressed and anxious that she threw up. So it's not the program that helps people feel like they're cared about. Leaders can use programs like that as a substitute for actual caring without truly caring at all. It's simply checking the box. To be a caring organization, you have to actually care. People can really feel it and see it by how they're treated on a daily basis by their supervisors and their leaders. When real caring exists, people love participating in programs like that. But if people hear one thing and they're treated differently, it totally feels fake. So one person I talked to said, today offices need to have pinball machines and ping pongs, and they need to have kegs of beer. People, need these things. It creates a positive culture. But from my perspective, that's not culture. To me, those things should emanate from culture. First, you have to create an environment, a team where people genuinely want to drink beer and play pool together, where people really care about one another. So for me, the bottom line is, what is your bottom line? You can still make money while caring for your people, and you can still have great metrics for caring when you care for your people. In fact, they may actually be better. But you have to decide what you really care about. It doesn't have to be either or. It literally is what you care about the most. So I created this caring quotient. This is my, idea of what really makes caring. You have to have clarity to prevent the chaos and confusion and conflict that can occur without it. But then you add empathy, add the understanding and wanting what's best for your people. And then you multiply it and you really amplify it with consistency, communication, and follow through, which is trust. And that all adds up to a caring organization. And every organization I know has its share of hits and misses. Every company I've worked with does some things really, really well to show that they care. But there are gaps. wasted opportunities to reinforce a message and a culture of caring. But where are those gaps, and how does each specific organization go about identifying those gaps and knowing what to do to fill them? Well, that's where I come in. I work with companies who want to increase their caring quotient. When I work with a company, I use a variety of tools to assess their strengths and find the opportunities for increased caring to create a better culture. And then I make recommendations about what they can do differently to strengthen their culture. And finally, I help companies implement new practices to achieve their goals. So that's those are my on caring and how important caring organizations are and how to create it. And I am happy to answer questions if I can find the chat. There we go.
Perfect. Thanks, Mary. So I unshared you, so I'm wondering if that'll help our bandwidth a little bit. So it looks like there is a question from Francis.
Right.
So,
I work with teams and I work with upper management. Francis, your question is, do I work with teams or upper management or both? I can do both, and I can do either or. I'm really about helping the company succeed as best they, finding where the issues are and helping companies come together, whether it's just a team or whether it's a leadership team or the entire organization. So thank you. Any other questions?
So I have a couple, or one question that someone messaged me privately is some people are wondering, is there a story behind the name of the business, Yellow Wagon?
Yes, I often get asked that. Actually, when I was considering forming this company and starting to do this work, I was, kind of casting about what would I call it? And at the time, my husband was looking into retiring, and we have a huge yard, and he has this big yellow wagon that he uses to, do yard work. And he loves it. So we used to tease him about being the old guy with the yellow wagon, that was going to be his new company after he retired. And so I stole the name first. So I stole Yellow Wagon first. And that's where it came from.
Perfect. I love that.
Yeah.
Any other questions, guys? Go ahead and put them in the chat, or go ahead and just shout them out, or give me a wave and we'll let you ask it.
Well, thank you guys. It was really, I really appreciate you listening to me. I'm obviously very passionate about this topic, and certainly feel free to reach out to me, visit my website if you have any other questions.
Awesome. Thanks, Mary. Oh, we have a question from Brenda. Thanks, Brenda. So what's one of your favorite leadership authors?
Well, what a great question that is. I have to say that one of my favorites is Brene Brown. Given my background in therapy and her background in social work, we're pretty aligned. So if any of you are looking for a great leadership book, I really recommend Dare to Lead by Brene Brown.
Awesome. Thank you. Anything else? Any other questions? Going once, going twice. All right, guys. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mary. The only thing we have to do is put up them red carpet spirit fingers and give Mary a warm thank you for her awesome presentation.
She should come off camera. She should turn on her camera again.
Oh yeah, hang on. Oh, there you go. There we go. Now we got to do it again. That's right, Brenda. We'll do it again. There it is. Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome. So we have a couple minutes left. What I'm going to do is, I did make an announcement at the beginning of this. I will go ahead and make that same announcement for anyone who maybe came in a little late. Tomorrow is the Chamber's annual celebration. It's from 9 to 9:30. It's a virtual event. It is completely free. You do need to register for it to attend. Even if you can't make that time slot, please still register, because you will receive materials and information about it. So just go ahead and register for it. What that annual celebration is It's kind of a short and sweet take on what we've done before in the past, given COVID kind of restrictions. But we're going to let you know about the successes of 2020, the work that was done in 2020, and where we want to position ourselves into 2021. So you'll get some insight into chamber programs and chamber priorities. And we'll also be kind of giving some pretty deserving individuals some awards. So it is kind of good to celebrate some members in our business community. So please go ahead and check that out. And it's open to members, non-members, public, doesn't matter. So if you know people that aren't chamber members, but they do want to attend, go ahead and just share that link with them. The more the merrier in our mind. So we have a couple minutes left. So if anybody has some announcements for the group, go ahead and just give me a wave and I'll let you do it. Anybody? All righty, I think we're good then. All righty, guys. Well, hey, we'll go ahead and end a little bit early. If you have questions for me, give me a call, give me an email. If you want to connect with Mary, let me know. I can try to make that connection for you guys. But again, thank you for a wonderful red carpet, and everybody have an awesome day.
Thank you.
All right, bye, everybody.
See you, Chad. Thank you.
Bye, John.